Hey, what's up, Summit Church? Michael here. So great to be with you. So glad that you are here. If this is your first time or first time in a long time tuning in, just want to say a special welcome to you. Would love for you to click on that QR code there and fill out the Connect card. We'd love to tell you more about why Summit Church is the place to be. Now, you may not know this, but I am a huge Los Angeles Rams fan for football. Now, you might be wondering why, since I was born and raised right here in Florida. Well, my allegiances in pro football have come and gone. You see, when I was a kid, I used to root for the Dolphins because that was the only way I could go over to my youth leader's house for Sunday lunch because they were big Miami fans. For one season, I was a huge Tampa Bay Bucks fan because I liked that a Florida team was in the Super Bowl. Then in college, I was a big Colts fan because I really liked Peyton Manning. Then I followed him over to Denver and became a Broncos fan. After he retired, I was a man without a team. And so for a few years, all I did was just watch the games. Then when we were moving back out to California, so were the St. Louis Rams. So I decided that we would be new together. And can I tell you, that relationship has been mostly a good relationship. It culminated in 2022 when the Rams won the Super Bowl. It was such a magical playoff run because they had to beat the 49ers, San Francisco 49ers, who had beaten them 6 straight times in the regular season. Now, right after the Rams had beat the 49ers, I started looking at tickets to the Super Bowl because when your team makes it, you want to go see it, right? And they were playing at the same stadium that they play their normal games in. And who wants to miss out on a chance to go to a Super Bowl and see your team play? And my thought was that if I could find tickets somewhere in the range of $100 to $300, then I would most certainly book a trip down to LA. Well, apparently I was looking in the wrong decade for reasonable ticket prices. I was devastated because I really wanted to go. And I checked every day to see if those ticket prices would come down, but they never did. The closer we got to that game day, the more I began to fear that I was going to miss out on being able to see the game live and in person. And I can imagine that there are many of you who have felt the same way about other things in your life, things that you feared that you'd miss out on. You know, it's this phenomenon that you've probably heard of called FOMO, right? Fear of missing out. You can experience FOMO in all sorts of things. Maybe a friend is taking a vacation and you have anxiety about not being able to go. Maybe a group of coworkers are talking about a lunch plans and you're hoping that they'll invite you. Like, we chase after things we think will make us happy and satisfy the craving of life, but oftentimes we're missing out on the true and good things we actually need in this life. Like, we all want to chase, or we all want to chase after things that we think we really want versus what we should actually have FOMO over, right? So we really want experiences, but we should have FOMO over modeling a legacy. We really want to do random acts of kindness, but what we should really be afraid of missing out is daily acts of humility, right? Of being able to model a better story than what we just experienced, right? And those once in a while kind of moments. We should want to live a life in the second chair always. We really want to know God's will. We chase after the future to appease our anxiety. But what we should really want is to advance God's kingdom. We should really want to continue to help people find and follow the way of Jesus and let the rest take care of itself. We chase after trying to be rich and financial security, but what we should really want is to be blessed. We should want to live a life that is filled with what God describes as being blessed. And that is what we really want, isn't it? We want to live a blessed life. And if we're being honest with what it truly means to have a blessed life, it isn't as much about being rich, though I believe most of us secretly pray for that. It isn't as much about us being comfortable. It's mostly about knowing that we are living in a way that has God's supernatural fingerprint all over it. A blessed life means we will have a deep contentment that God has got this. So last week, we kicked off a new series called Making Change, where we want to look at a life that is blessed more than it is rich. Now, if this is your first time tuning in here at Summit, I don't want you to get the impression that all we talk about is money. We don't. But we're talking about it today because you know as well as I do that money, if not put in its proper place in our lives, can lead us to a place where we are chasing all the wrong things. And again, it's not about being or living a rich life. It's about being and living a blessed life. And there's a clear difference between the two. So today, I want to talk about first things, or maybe a better way of putting that is priorities. Now, did you know that if you make your bed first thing in the morning, you are 25% more likely to feel productive at the end of the day? Like if you do nothing else that day, at least you made your bed. And this is a struggle for me because I never want to get out of bed first, and I definitely don't want to have to make the bed every day. How about this? Did you know that if you have a glass of water first thing in the morning, it can increase your metabolic rate of digesting food faster by 25%. Now, this is a problem for me because the first thing I'm thinking about when I get up and brush my teeth is an ice cold Coca-Cola, not water. Now, some of you are thinking about a hot cup of coffee. Now, did you know that if you say the word you in the first 5 seconds of a phone call or a video call, you increase the chances that a person or an audience engages by 67%. So I hope you are all paying attention to this because you have the opportunity to hear something that I believe will benefit you as you sit here. You see, the reality is that what we do first really matters. I mean, think about all the important firsts in your life, right? Like your first birthday, your first kiss, your first graduation, your first car, your first anniversary, your first job, maybe even your first kid. Now, sorry if you're like me and you're the second, and third, or fourth child. But what we do first will always matter in life. It's why the saying of making a good first impression has become a staple in most people's lives. I remember when I first met my wife when we were both working at Applebee's. On a date night, got that Bourbon Street steak with the Oreo shake, get some whipped cream on the top too, 2 straws, 1 check, girl, I got you. Just kidding. We initially didn't like each other first because our first impressions we made with each other wasn't that great. Now, if it wasn't for my debonair characteristics, the greatest Applebee's love story may have never happened. So let me share with you the principle we're going to be focused on today. And in fact, this week, out of all the weeks, might be the most important principle to glean from. Why? Because regardless of where you are on your faith journey, if you apply this principle, it will change the way you view your life and how you live it. And it has everything to do with what we do first. So here's the principle. When you give God your first, you will experience God's best. You see, the way we experience the blessed life that we're talking about is by putting God first in every area of our lives. If we truly believe that God is really God and that he's this big, powerful, all-creator, all-sustaining God, then he should be first in every area of our lives. I love the way that JCLU, which is a Christian apparel brand, puts it. The secret to a happy life is giving God the first part of your day, the first priority of every decision, and the first place in your heart. If God is first, our lives begin to function the way God intended it to function. This means if God is not first, then your life is out of order in some way. Now, this doesn't make you a bad person. I know a lot of good people who believe in Jesus and love Jesus, but haven't moved to make Jesus number one in every area of their life. God can't be second. He's not a second place God. He's a first place God, a sit on the throne of your mind and soul, heart God. And he made that very clear in his writings to us throughout the history of time. I mean, just go back to one of the most familiar writings in the first half of the Bible known as the 10 Commandments. Now, these were the first sets of writings in which God communicated to us that he doesn't want to be second, third, or fourth in our lives. He demands and deserves to be first and only. Here's what he says. I am the Lord your God who rescued you from the land of Egypt, the place of your slavery. You must not have any other gods but me. God says, I need you people to remember, I was the one who freed you from 400 years of oppression and slavery. I gave you freedom from tyranny and constraint. Now, did the people deserve to be rescued? Did God owe them? No, but he does it because that's who God is. He's a giver, and he wanted to give them and us the ability to live a life that is blessed. But in order to do that, God needs us to understand that that only comes by way of making God first among everything. Now, why is this important? Why would God need to say right off the bat that he needs to be first in our lives? Because God knows that our tendency is to shift to other things when we get distracted. He continues on. He says, you must not make for yourself an idol of any kind or an image of anything in the heavens or on the earth or in the sea. You must not bow down to them or worship them. For I, the Lord your God, am a jealous God who will not tolerate your affections for other gods. Now, it's easy to read that and automatically assume that this doesn't apply to you. Like I would assume that you don't have some wooden statue at home or some bronze structure with fire coming out of it or some golden calf sitting on the family's room mantle. And each morning and night, you are bowing down and worshiping that. I'm going to assume the best about you. But if you are doing that, let's talk about it. Here's the thing. While we might not be worshiping idols in the literal sense, we can be just as tempted with pouring our attention and our affections into everyday things in our own life. Like we can bow down to our own agendas, our own schedules, our own stuff, and other people. We could easily find ourselves putting something or someone else first. So God says, listen, I know the human heart so well, and I know it has the propensity to latch on to whatever it desires if left unchecked. So latch on to me, and I promise you, you will experience my best for you. Now, the natural question that you should be asking right about now is, what is first in my life? Is it God, or is it something, or is it someone else? The easiest way to determine that is to sort of think through your thoughts around what you think is going to bless you the most. Not what you hope will bless you the most, but what you currently believe will bless you. Think about it like this. You wake up in the morning, and for some of you, you believe that coffee is what will bless you the most. Some of you can't begin your day without 1, 2, or 3 or more cups of that stuff. Some of you believe that exercise is a thing that will bless you the most. If you can get in shape or stay in shape, you will live your best life. Some of you literally wake up and you grab your phone and it's Instagram or TikTok that you're consumed with. And by strolling and living life vicariously through others, you believe that you'll get a blessed life. You get caught up with being consumed with these influencers' lives. You know, this can also be true of our time and our money. You give whatever is first, your time and your money. When a crisis hits, you're more than likely going to put first whatever you think will protect you from ruin. When the pandemic hit, many of you went to check on your investments and your retirement accounts and IRAs. The rest of us went to make sure we had enough toilet paper, right? Like when you have a marriage crisis, you invest time or money into counseling, or at least you should. What about your plans, your ambitions, your goals, and your dreams? You will put first whatever you think will get you to where you want to be. What about your feelings, the desire for pleasure? You will put first whatever you think will get you those feelings that you're after. Whatever we think is going to bless us the most is where we're going to move to first. And I just want to be honest with you. We all struggle with giving God our first because at the heart of it, we struggle to trust him. We struggle to believe that God really wants what's best for us. But in order to see God as a blessing in your life, you need to understand something. God owns it all. And then secondly, put God first. Now, I want to give you some examples of what this looks like in everyday lives, to put God first. And hopefully at least one will resonate with you. One of the witnesses of Jesus' life named Mark, he records in his writing this really subtle moment he notices. He says, before daybreak the next morning, Jesus got up and went out to an isolated place to pray. Now, right in this moment, we see the principle of the first. Jesus got up early in the morning, and what's the first thing he does? He finds a quiet space and he spends time with God the Father. So if it was important to Jesus to spend time at the beginning of the day with God, how much more should it be for us as well? Here's another example. Honor the Lord with your wealth and the best parts of everything you produce. Then he will fill your barns with grain and your vats will overflow with good wine. Now, upon immediately reading this, your mind may have gone to money. And while yes, that's a part of what the writer is communicating here, it's more than money. You see, the Hebrew word for wealth is all-encompassing. Think about your whole life. The writer is saying that whatever in your life is worth anything, give it to God, who, by the way, owns it all, the first of it. The promise is that when you do, there's an overflowing return. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean more money, but it does mean a more fulfilled or more blessed life. You see, there's a story from the early parts of the book of Genesis that you may have heard. It's the story of Cain and Abel. It's these two brothers who make an offering or gifts to God, and God chooses to bless Abel's offering and not Cain. Cain gets jealous and kills Abel. Now, it's interesting because they both brought gifts to God. So why wouldn't God bless both offerings? Well, here's why. The writer writes, when it came time for the harvest, Cain presented some of his crops as a gift to the Lord. Abel also brought a gift, the best portions of the firstborn lambs from his flock. The Lord accepted Abel and his gift. Now, do you see the difference? You see, people tend to focus on the fact that Abel's offering was a blood offering and Cain's was not. But I think that's missing the forest for the trees. That's not the main point of this. The point of this is that Cain brought what was left, what was available, whereas Abel put God first and brought God the best of the firstborn. And because of Abel's willingness to give God his first, God blessed Abel's offering over Cain. So again, why is it so important to give God and give him our first? Because the first is a gift of trust. Do you remember when you were a kid and you would play with your friends, either like backyard football or basketball or hopscotch or jump rope or burn ants with a magnifying glass? Well, when they were picking teams, you wanted to be what? First. Why? Because being picked first showed that they value you above everyone else. That's why it's so important to God. If you give your first to God, you're saying, God, I fully trust and believe that you can help me make the most of this. And here's the thing, it's not necessarily just about what you give first. It's more so about the trust that giving your first to God communicates. It's that trust that puts us into the blessing zone to experience God's best for us. It's the faith that aligns our life with God's intended order. You know, I imagine that there are some of you who are watching today and you're thinking, well, I don't need God's blessing. I've done well for myself. Let me tell you, so did Cain. He was a successful farmer who didn't experience God's blessing. And we can almost assume that at the end of his life, he wished he had. Why? Because our souls will always crave more. It doesn't matter how nice our stuff is, how much money we have in the bank, how great our marriage is, how well adjusted our kids are, how great our jobs are, how great our lives may feel. It won't matter. The human soul has a deep craving that the things of this world can never satisfy. You see, the blessing that our soul craves can only be satisfied by the blessing that God gives. So let me give you maybe just 3 areas where I think you can begin to give God your first. The first area is time. Maybe that means the first thing in the morning. Maybe that means carving out intentional time during the day and the month to be alone with God. I used to have this former coworker of mine named Dave Wilson, who spends at least 1 day per month in solitude. He gets away from family and work and friends, and he spends that day just with God, praying and reading and worshiping. Maybe that's what you need to do to begin giving the first stuff. Here's the second area, your talent. Now, each one of us has what I would call God-given abilities. These are skills that we've been blessed by God with: art, music, intellect, athleticism, whatever it may be. And we should be giving off the top of that to God. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that just serving at the church, though we would love for you to attend and serve. I recently read a story about a pro football player who played the game not for the money or for fame, but so that he could have a platform to help underprivileged families. Famous Florida State running back Ward Dunn has taken his fortunes from using his talents to bless those families by building homes that they get to live in. Today, he has built 173 homes that he has given away for free. How can you give the first fruit of your talents to God? Here's the third area, treasure. Now, right after God rescued his people from oppression and slavery in Egypt, he has Moses, the leader of the people, write out a list of principles God wanted the people to live by in this book called Leviticus. And one of those principles is found in chapter 27. Moses writes this: 1/10 of the produce of the land, whether grain from the fields or fruits from the trees, belongs to the Lord and must be set apart to him as holy. Now that 1/10 is referred to as a tithe. Next week, our teaching minister, Kaylee Newkirk, is going to go into much deeper into this idea about the first 10%. But what I want you to understand today is that God didn't want it all back. He only wanted the top of whatever it was. Notice how he told Moses that all of it belongs to the Lord and must be set apart. God's saying none of it belongs to anyone but me, but I only want the best of the best, the top of the top. The rest you can keep because it shows me that you trust me to be your God. Here's the thing. It doesn't belong to us, but God doesn't also want it back all because he needs it. He wants it because it shows we trust him. He wants us to give him our first so we can experience his best. Maybe it's time for you to start giving him your first. So I want to challenge you, start giving God the first of your time and make him a priority in your life before you do anything else. I want to challenge you to begin give God and his calling in your life the first of your talents. I know you might think you're unqualified or unequipped to share your God-given abilities, but it's always throughout Scripture those that thought the same thing that God ends up doing amazing things through, and that could be you. And can I also tell you that when you share your talents, especially if you come to Summit, you are opening the door for someone else to have the chance to hear and experience the love, grace, and truth of Jesus. My desire, as I've said so many times and will continue to say, is that I want this house to be a place that is safe for people from all backgrounds to be inspired to find and follow the way of Jesus. Lastly, I want to challenge you to give your first of your treasures to God. Each and every one of us, if we are followers of Jesus, and especially if we're partners or regular attenders here at Summit, should be giving the best of the best, the top of the 100% of our financial resources to the work that God is doing here at Summit. Now, I'm not asking you to give for the sake of giving. I'm asking you to give because it shows God that we trust him to sit on the throne of our hearts. He is our true treasure, and our giving speaks volumes to that idea. Now, here's the thing. Some of us can give more than others. Other of us can only give what we can give. It's not about equal gifts. It's about equal sacrifice. It's about saying to God, Jesus, I trust that you can take this small gift and do incredible things with because you are first in my life. I believe wholeheartedly that when you make God first in your time, your talent, in your treasures, you'll begin to experience the blessing of a God who loves you so much that he gave his first and only son to you. I don't know about that, but man, I'd want that blessing in my life every day. And maybe you're watching this right now and you would say, man, I want to experience the blessing of what God giving Jesus for me is. Well, can I tell you? All it is admitting that you need Jesus, that you need to put God first in your life. It's believing that Jesus died for you, that his death on the cross took away your sins, and his resurrection allowed you to now be with God and to make God first in your life. And it's choosing today to say yes to Jesus for the rest of your life. If you made that decision today, let me tell you, all of heaven rejoices, and so do we. Jesus, would you help us to make you first in every area of our life? We pray this in Jesus' name, and the house said,
I was a prisoner guilty of every crime, but you took my place and you did my time. How can I thank you, Lord? My broken heart you have restored. How can I thank you, Lord? You give me grace I cannot afford. I was an enemy, you made me a guest. You spread the table in the wilderness. Beside the waters, you filled my cup. Oh, how I have settled for lesser love. How can I thank you, Lord? My broken heart you have restored. How can I thank you, Lord? You give me grace I cannot afford. I was an orphan, you called me a child. I was a stranger, I was lost and defiled. Redemption found me from up above. Oh, how I have settled for lesser love. How can I thank you, Lord? My broken heart you have restored. How can I thank you, Lord? You give me grace I cannot afford. How can I thank you, Lord? My broken heart you have restored. How can I thank you, Lord? You give me grace I cannot afford. You give me grace I cannot afford. You give me grace I cannot
One thing that we all share as human beings is this idea that we are all longing for something, that maybe in life there is no such thing as enough, or what does it mean to be content? That feeling is elusive sometimes, and sometimes we don't know what that feeling actually feels like. But one thing that this sermon series is teaching us is that in Jesus, when we put him first, that is where we can find true contentment. Thank you, Michael, so much for that reminder.
And we thank you so much for joining us here online today. We would love to connect with you more during the week on our social media or right here on YouTube. And we hope to see you in person next Sunday.